You may have seen her on BuzzFeed or Above Average, and we are so excited to have her here tonight. Please welcome Anita Flores.
It was a year ago, which is crazy. Well, okay. For me, the tough day, actually I think for everyone it was a tough day. It was the night of, election results night. I remember it as if it were a year ago. I think for me, as a newly 30-year-old, this was my JFK assassination. And when I say that, I mean, I was sad, and I can tell you exactly what I was doing and what I was wearing, like minute by minute. So I was at work after I went to vote. No one look at their time hop today. It's the saddest thing in the world, because you just look at the first half of the day and everyone's excited and they have their stickers on, and then at the end everyone's just like drunk and or sad. I was supposed to go to Hillary Clinton's acceptance party at the Javits Center. That's what I was supposed to do last year, and I guess my friends just trusted the system less than I did, because I was supposed to go with some friends and they decided they didn't want to go. So I didn't go either. So I went to an election party, which is just whoever has the biggest TV, you go to their house. Yeah. And so I did. So fast forward to 10:37 p.m., I want to just read you a text message exchange I had with my roommate, Jenna. This is me. I said, "We are doomed. I am drunk." She said, "The ship is sinking, both ships. Drunk is mandatory." I said, "Let's get high until we die." We didn't die, but I did wake up at 6 a.m. with a near panic attack and just all the worst headlines that we all saw at 6 a.m. So at the worst time possible, as this is happening, I'm also finishing The Handmaid's Tale. Because I like to read books only when I know they're coming out as a TV series. So I was reading it. I was panicking, much like every other woman. And so after I read The Handmaid's Tale, I decided that I was going to get an IUD. Now, I'm not a person that loves pain. I mean, I cry when I think somebody doesn't like me, So me getting an IUD was like an impossibility at any other time, but not at this moment. So I decided I was going to do it. I made an appointment, and I was very nervous about it, because when I asked my gynecologist about it, she just said, "There'll be some discomfort," which is so vague that I didn't believe her. So fortunately, I was scheduled to have this IUD the Monday after the Women's March in DC, which I went to, and I thought, where can I find thousands of women to ask how painful is an IUD? It's the Women's March in DC. One of the greatest days of my life was that march. It just felt like the perfect cross between a bachelorette party and a bridal shower. There was no alcohol, but all the women are just screaming and yelling at the top of their lungs, and our feet really hurt by the end of the day. It was just a nice cross between everything, and we're all best friends. I mean, as soon as I started talking to someone else, asking them about their IUD, another stranger butts into the conversation and is like, one woman said, "It was the most painful thing I've ever experienced, but it was worth it." And this sounds strangely like the way people describe childbirth to me. And then another woman said to me, who was, about 10 years older than me, she said, "Wow, I wish I had had an IUD 10 years ago. Instead, now I just have a kid." And that was all I needed. So I did not chicken out, and on the day of that I was going to get this IUD, I was very nervous, and all your doctor tells you to do is take some ibuprofen, which is, bullshit. It's not going to do anything. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I had some leftover pain medication from a previous surgery. It was either oxycodone or oxycodone, whichever is the gateway to heroin. I don't know. Whichever one. So I took some of that, and then I smoked just a lot of weed, and and then I hopped on the train. And keep in mind, it was 9 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. So, you know, I'm sure it made for like a really great, just entertaining read for anyone who was watching me on the train. Because that's just a fun thing to do when you're on the train in New York, is to figure out what drugs people are on, you know? So, on this, you know, 40-minute ride, I became inspired, possibly by the mix of drugs I was on, to write down some mantras, because I was starting to get very nervous. You know, I deal with anxiety, and you know, the closer I got, the more just sick to my stomach I was getting. So I thought, why don't I just come up with some nice, encouraging things I can say to myself as I'm just in that doctor's room. So I have those for you, what I wrote in that really great state of mind I was in. And this is just in order of just what was going on in my head. And so I've made a title for it and everything. This is just exactly from that date. Mantras you can do while you're getting your IUD inserted. I'm not pregnant. You want a baby? Is that what you want? It's worth the pain. You know how lucky you are? You fucking selfish bitch. At this point, it's just a train of thought, you know? You want to end up like Zoe? Zoe is my friend who I love, who is like on her second baby, but at the time she had an oops baby, which is a really cute way of saying nobody was wearing protection and she did have a baby. And at the time, she was the only person I knew that had a baby. So I didn't want to end up like Zoe. And then my last mantra was, you want to have to buy all new clothes? Because I'm very cheap and, you know, and maternity clothes and all of that. So these are all the things I said to myself and wrote down on the way to this IUD. And when I got to the doctor's office, to my gynecologist, you know, she sat me down, went through what was going to happen. I wasn't really listening. And then I asked her, do you have any anesthesia just like lying around? And she chuckled, because, you know, there is no anesthesia, they don't have it lying around, but I think they should. So I didn't get that. And so what proceeded truly was the most painful thing I've ever experienced. It only lasted about a minute. And I can't tell you exactly what happened, but it just felt like everything was being pulled out of me. Now, a better way to describe it is eventually I found an article from Cosmo titled, "Here's what an IUD really feels like." And it was like 19 quotes from women. And one woman said, "It felt like my cervix was getting tasered." That's exactly right. That's exactly okay? And so, you know, as doctors do during procedures, and I feel like women go through this more than men, we go through so many procedures and so many terrible things can happen in the female reproductive system, that generally anything I've had done, a biopsy, surgery, anything, pap smears, the doctor is like talking through it as it's happening, but it's not particularly helpful when you're in the worst pain of your life. So she was like describing to me what was going on, and I think just screamed through it. But then it was over. It was over. I survived. And so I thought very sillily, that's not a word. I thought very foolishly that I would like take the train home. No. You shouldn't do that. You should take an Uber. And so when I left, I called an Uber, but I couldn't like really walk. So I don't know if the camera's gonna get this, but essentially I was waiting for my Uber just squatting for about 12 minutes. And I really think people probably thought I was just about to take a shit on 3rd Avenue. But what's so beautiful about New York is like no one even stops, you know, because it's New York. We've all seen someone shit on 3rd Avenue. So it was just like a beautiful New York moment. In general, I love when people just lose their minds and have nervous breakdowns and cry in public, and everyone just gives them their space. Just like, you know, only in New York, you know? So I took an Uber home, and I didn't go to work that day. I laid down and I watched, I think, you know, at least a full season of The X-Files. There's 9 seasons, 2 movies, and now a new reboot. So it's just a great thing to watch when you're like immobile. So then I lay there for probably 4 hours, and then I get a call from my boyfriend who said, "Are you ready? It's time for like your surprise." And I forgot that about 2 weeks before I made this appointment, he had asked me what I was doing on January 21st or whatever day it was. And I said, "I'm free. I'm not going to be doing anything." And so he said that the surprise was happening, and I just didn't want to let my taser uterus get in the way of this. Like, we'd only been dating for 3 months. This was like the first like cute surprise in my only serious relationship, and I was like, no, I'm not going to let my vagina get in the way of this. So he came over to my apartment dressed in a tuxedo. At this point, I was wearing, sweatpants? I was wearing sweatpants with cuffs on the bottom, not even formal sweatpants, And so at that point, I put on the loosest fitting dress that I owned, which I accidentally got in the maternity section of Old Navy. So it really worked out. And then he told me we were going to the opera. I have never been to the opera. Even now, I can't tell you where we went. It's wherever the only place you can go to see the opera is in New York. It was going to be a 3-hour event. It was Carmen. I also don't know anything about Carmen, but I knew I was going to be sitting for 3 hours. And it was so sweet of him, but also like, man, I wish he had known that this was going to happen, because it just really felt like someone had punched me in the cervix. And I was also walking like this. It was very sad, I was just hunched over, just kind of clutching my maternity dress tummy. And so we took a cab there. I'd never been to an opera, or I guess it's an opera house. You guys know what I'm talking about. The Metropolitan. The Metropolitan, is that what it's called? Yeah. Whatever it's called. It was beautiful. It's beautiful. I've never been there. It was just beautiful and red, and there were curtains and lighting. And we sat down, and I couldn't believe that my boyfriend had done this really sweet thing for me. And then I took his hand, and then I fell asleep. So I think I came in and out probably 4 times. I heard a few familiar songs. But the most important part is, everybody, that I'm not pregnant, and I never did get pregnant, and now I won't get pregnant, at least for 5 years. That's the most important thing to me, and if Donald Trump is listening to this, or the GOP, I will not be your handmaiden, okay? That's how I feel. Yeah, so that's my story.
Comes the world